Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander. I am, as always, honored and excited to get to host another Power to Fly Chat and Learn virtual event. We are going to be talking about careers in motion, stories from Dassault's talent acquisition team. Before we dive in, I just want to go over a couple things. First up is I'm going to flash our code of conduct real fast. Now, this looks like a big scary wall of legalese, but I promise it's not that bad. What it boils down to is just don't be a jerk, okay? As long as we operate from a place of kindness and respect, it's pretty hard to go wrong from there. But if you want any more details on our code of conduct or have any other questions, you can always DM me in the chat, Meg Alexander, or you can always email our help desk inbox. That's hi at powertofly.com. All right, now as we get started, I do want to go over a couple quick housekeeping items. This will be especially important if today is your first event with Power to Fly. And if that's the case, then hi, welcome. We're so happy to meet you. Now, the love is no less real for my frequent flyers. So thank you everybody for joining us today, whether it's your first Power to Fly event or your 50th. Now, the big thing to know about Power to Fly virtual events is participation. We want to make sure that you all feel empowered to participate in today's event. So, as always, you're very welcome to turn your cameras on if you would like to share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely today. But there is no need to be Instagram perfect, y'all. Okay. Just because I got really fancy and like washed and blow dried my hair today does not mean that you can't come to us with your 3-day messy buns, your bathrobes, your furry coworkers. It does not matter. Okay. We don't stand on ceremony. We want to meet you where you are. Now, if you do want to participate with your camera, that's awesome. It is not a requirement. All right. So no worries there. We always encourage y'all to write in the chat. I do know that our audience members will be on mute today, but we want to hear from you. So please feel free to ask us questions. Let us know how you're feeling about some of the answers or the topics that we're discussing. We want to hear from you. Okay. So in that vein, I do want to encourage y'all to dive on into that group chat right now and let us know where you're calling in from. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So you're always welcome to let us know where you're joining us from and if you know whose land you're on. Oh man. All right. So we've got Anya chiming in from Dallas, Texas. We've got Pearson in Los Angeles. Nicole is in Greenville, South Carolina. We've got James dialing in from Kenya, Valeria in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Adam is in Boston. Welcome, y'all. Vishal in India. Emily coming from Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is Dakota land. Thank you, Emily. Love to see it. All right. Now, last but not least, I do want to encourage y'all or let y'all know that we are recording today's event. Now, what that means for all of you is you don't have to take notes. You get to sit back, relax, enjoy the conversations that I'm about to have with some of the great team from Dassault Systems, and not worry if you miss a link that was shared or a resource that was dropped. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is in about 4 to 5, or sorry, yeah. So we're live streaming to YouTube right now. Hi, YouTube. And what's going to happen is in about 4 to 5 business days, PowerToFly is going to email everybody who registered for today's event. So that includes all of you here, as well as anybody who might be joining us later. But what's going to happen is everybody that registered is going to get an email from PowerToFly. It's going to contain a link to where you can rewatch this recording when we post it live on powertofly.com. Now, let's say that someone from Dassault says something like mind blowing, paradigm shifting, and you don't want to wait 4 to 5 business days to tell a friend or a coworker or share this link with a relative. You don't have to. You can head over to our YouTube channel. We're going to be sharing links for all of this in the chat thread as we go, but you can head to our YouTube channel. The video that we're live streaming today will usually be posted by the end of business today. And there's also a huge section of our like kind of greatest hits are on our YouTube channel. So it's a really good place for additional free resources. Now, obviously, I do recommend you check out our YouTube channel because I'm all over it. However, I very much recommend that you check out our website because that is where the true motherload of resources lays. Okay. That is where everything, all of these resources that we want to put into all of your hands for free. Great topics like this, everything like what you're seeing here. There's even more of it on the website, especially from Dassault Systems, because I've done several of these with Michael before. So definitely check those out. All right, now to keep us moving, I'm very excited to introduce y'all to Dassault Systems. Now, just in case y'all are unaware of who they are, at Dassault Systems or 3DS, They harmonize product, nature, and life for a more sustainable world. They believe that in life, there are no rehearsals. Thanks to their 3D experience, virtual universes, they can model, simulate, and evaluate impacts before creating any experience in the real world. Now, because experience is about enjoying art, science, and technology to imagine and create a better world for all. And this world must be sustainable. Now, 3DS builds on imagination, knowledge, and know-how to make a lasting contribution for the benefit of all. There are 20,000 people worldwide representing 140 nationalities, 20,000 different stories that shape the Dassault Systèmes story. Dassault Systems employees are dancers, runners, designers, guitar makers, boxers, developers, musicians, seamstresses, engineers, artists, and architects of the future. Now, if anything that we say today really kind of piques your interest on Dassault Systems, I very much recommend you check out their company page. Now, what you're looking at on the screen in front of you is what their company page looks like on PowerToFly.com. The big thing that I want to highlight here is this QR code down there. That's how you're going to get to this company page. You can also click the link that Rob is sharing in the chat thread. The other thing I want to highlight is when you get, obviously this is Delivery Heroes page, but when you get here, there's going to be a big pink button that says follow. Okay. From that page, I want you to check out, I want you to tap that button. I'm going to tell you a little bit later about what that button's going to do for you. Truly, if anything that you're hearing today about Dassault Systems intrigues you, check out their company page. Okay. There's more information about them. There's going to be info on company benefits, more information on the company culture, past events like this. So it's a very, very good resource, as well as obviously being the home where you can search for and apply to jobs right from PowerToFly.com. All right, now, very excited to jump on into the meat and potatoes of today's event. So I'm going to introduce our speakers to you today. First up, we have Michael Russo. Now, Michael is a senior talent acquisition partner. If you've attended any other Dassault Systems events with us, you've most likely seen him. Michael is a seasoned and passionate talent acquisition partner with a proven track record of building strong relationships, fostering collaboration, meeting business goals, and hiring top talent. He enjoys mentoring new talent entering the workforce and loves connecting with employees at all levels of the business. Michael, what else would you like our audience members to know about you today before we introduce your co-speakers?
Sure. So first and foremost, thank you everybody for joining. And very nice to see that we have folks from Kenya, India, and Argentina, as well as all of the US. So that's great. So thank you for joining and your participation. I'm based out of our Waltham, Massachusetts office, which is considered our Boston campus. Um, I sit with Kristen, who's also on the line today, and Amber is my colleague from California. And a fun fact about myself is I have a dog who pretty much takes up most of my downtime. And the other thing is I love to cook.
Okay, it's a rule of mine. You can't mention a dog without telling me the dog's name.
His name is Cooper, and his middle name is Mitchell, so it's Cooper Mitchell.
I love it. Absolutely love it. My dogs all have middle names too. I've got Radar Tiberius and Dorcas Alberta. So yeah, I'm right there with you. All right. Well, thank you, Michael. Very excited to dive in more on Dassault Systems with you as we go. Now, joining Michael on stage, we also have Kristen Flanagan. Now, Kristen is also a senior talent acquisition partner, accomplished HR professional with 15 years of experience in full cycle talent acquisition, recruitment strategy, and human resources operations. Now, she currently serves as a talent acquisition manager and leads innovative hiring initiatives and strategic sourcing efforts, delivering top tier talent across diverse teams in alignment with long term business goals. Kristen, I'm so excited to have you grace the stage with us today. What else would you like our audience members to know about you?
I also want to thank everyone for sharing this space with us today. I, as Michael said, am based in Waltham, Massachusetts. We sit very closely with one another, always on calls with Amber. It feels like almost on a daily basis. So we're a very close, tight-knit team here at Dassault. I will also share I have a rescue pup as well, although she is not uh, very young. She's a 12-year-old Cocker Spaniel named Molly, and just Molly, one name, no
She's an
middle name,
icon.
but
She
I guess,
doesn't need a middle name. She's fabulous. She's Molly. No.
but
Um,
it's worth thinking about. Never too
I
late.
like to use it when they're in trouble, like my mom did. So it was like,
Right.
yeah, that's my favorite. No, That's absolutely fabulous. And the older dogs have my heart because Radar is also 12. I'm very much in denial about this, but he is 12. And
It
so we
happens
call him our
quick.
little old man and, cater to him at every opportunity. So I love that.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kristen. All right, joining Kristen and Michael, we have Amber Ty. Now, Amber, hold on, let me make you. There we go. Place your spotlight. Amber is an talent acquisition specialist, specializing in early career development and talent act. Now, as the co-lead of the university recruiting program at Dassault Systems, she drives initiatives that support intern to hire conversion and help early career talent successfully transition into the workforce. Amber, I know you're going to be very popular with a lot of our audience members. We have a lot of early career starters that join these conversations. So I'm very, very happy to have you on the stage with us as well. What else would you like our audience members to know about you?
Hi, so thank you so much for the introduction, and I'm really glad to see everyone joining. Like Michael and Kristen mentioned, I'm located in our San Diego, California office. And on the flip side, I don't have a dog, but I do have a cat named Ryu. He's 4 years old and takes up a lot of my time and attention as well. So yeah, I guess a little fun fact about me is that I'm currently marathon training for the LA Marathon right now. So if there are any runners out there, I'd love to connect.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm honestly, okay, so the longest I've ever run was a half, and I did it at Disneyland. It was lovely,
Yeah.
probably because Disney, think of everything. But the fact that y'all have like no humidity was wild to me as someone from Ohio who like has not had above like 30-degree weather without like choking on the humidity. So that's amazing. Is this the longest you've ever run? Have you done a marathon before?
No, yeah, this will be my first marathon, but hopefully I will be doing even longer distances after this one.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. All right, more running for you, less for me. But I think that is wonderful. Thank you, Amber, for sharing that. Okay, so we are going to hold on, let me stop my screen share. We're going to go on into questions. Now, we had a bunch of questions that we were going to ask the Dassault team that we, talked about in advance, obviously, because we prepare for events like this. So we have a bunch that we're going to start asking, but if at any point you have questions, if you want us to dive in deeper on a subject, if you want us to dive into, terminology, acronyms, whatever it is, please feel free. I'll let us know. You took the time to be here live and spend time with PowerToFly and Dassault Systems. We want to reward you for that. So please feel like you can drive today's conversation. All right. So, okay, first area I want to talk about is career development and growth. Now, a lot of this is about career moves and career transitions. I want to know, what is the most recent move that y'all made in your careers? Was it a move towards a better position? Were you, looking to advance? When you talk about moving in your career, what are we talking about? Michael,
So
you're
I guess
nodding
I, oh,
along.
yeah.
Go right ahead,
So
Amber,
No,
please.
so I
Go
can
ahead.
So I guess I can start off. I am kind of earlier in my career. I started off at Dassault as actually a talent acquisition coordinator. So I kind of was able to be given the opportunity to learn the ropes about recruiting and talent acquisition, everything. I did come into this position with no previous recruiting experience. So the team really helped me build that type of experience and knowledge. And they've been really supportive ever since then. I believe the last 2 years, I've been working alongside my co-partner for the university recruiting team, and that's where I gained even more experience to become a talent acquisition partner. And that it helped me transition very smoothly into it because as a coordinator, I was already learning the ropes for everything. So by the time I was promoted to a partner, I kind of already knew the process and everything. However, I also did put myself out there and utilize the resources within our company to further improve my knowledge about the company and more about recruiting as well to make sure that I give the best experience for both managers and candidates.
That's awesome. I love to hear it. And thank you for chiming in because I think especially early in your career, there can feel like a lot of pressure to go from whatever your first job was to whatever the next job is. And so I really appreciate that, it was something that was not just a single move, but it was also something that was very much supported within Dassault. I love that. Kristen, how about you? Or sorry, Michael, did you want to go next?
No, no, no. I'm nodding because I'm listening to everything that everybody's saying. So I'll let Kristen go if she'd like.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Michael. So when I joined Dassault 7 years ago now, I did start as a talent acquisition partner. I focused on recruitment for a lot of different functions. Said yes to a lot of things, new opportunities, right? Getting exposure and really trying to understand the organization globally, where are the connection points, how people support one another internally. My main focus ended up with sales, um, as well as some administrative positions. And then I believe back in 2022, 2023, I was given the opportunity to manage part of the talent acquisition team here. And that was really exciting. And then about a year later, I was also given another opportunity to focus on strategy within sales, technical sales, marketing, and our general and administrative functions. So, you can kind of see that things happened pretty quickly in regards to that management role shifting to a strategic role, and now I'm an individual contributor. But all in all, it's been really exciting to adapt to the needs of the organization, and to, of course, continue my career path and keep myself very challenged here at Dassault.
Excellent. We love to hear it. All right, Michael, how about you?
Sure. So, my current role is Senior Talent Acquisition Partner, and I started out at Dassault as a talent acquisition partner. So, grew a bit in that role. I've been with Dassault for 11 years. My career spans longer than I'd like to admit to, but I've been in my professional career for about 30 years now. And I've done everything from being a recruiter to an on-site manager. I managed a team years ago in staffing. I've been an HR generalist. I think, to talk a little bit more about now or the challenges, though I've been more in the same role, what's been interesting for me is having additional work that I'm passionate about. I'm co-leading our Pride ERG. And in terms of recruiting, I primarily have focused in my past life on some inside sales roles, as well as now it's been more general and administrative, so a lot of finance. So I've been getting to work with Kristen and other partners on her team, and I'm doing and exploring more sales opportunities. So really enjoying the change of doing something a little bit different.
Love that. Okay. All right. Now the question then becomes, how has and how does Dassault support career development for long-term employee growth? It's one of those things where a lot of times people leave because there might not be an opportunity to progress in their career or to grow or learn new things or anything. What does this look like at Dassault? What does that support look like?
Sure. You guys want me to take this one first? I think one of the great things about Dassault is it does foster a culture of moving people internally. We're very much a performance-based company. So if you're doing well, though we are a large company, the way that our offices are set up and business units are set up, it's really got more of that individual family feel in a lot of groups. So it's very visible. And if you're doing well, it's going to stand out. And so, sometimes it's not just upward mobility, sometimes it's lateral mobility. So I'll give an example. I had a gentleman that I had worked with who had been in IT very early in his career, and then he switched. He got a finance degree and he went into finance. And then he was partnering. He was the finance business partner to the IT group. And before he retired, he really wanted to work in IT again. So he transitioned out of being a finance business partner and he went back to IT. So we have cases like that all the time. We have an internal My Journey application for our employees, and we have our internal, job board, and we have through our career and perform group, you can have a career coach that talks with you about your development and what you want to do. But to go back to what I first said that I think is great is there's a lot of internal opportunity, and you can really kind of set up and decide what you want to do. And if you are performing and succeeding, you can make decisions if you want to try something new or go to another group. So that's just one perspective for me. I don't know if Amber and Kristen, you guys would like to share.
So I can actually talk about a recent internal transfer that I've helped with. This person was coming from a more admin position, moving into a more sales type position, and the reason that she got she piqued the interest of the manager was because of just her networking and just talking to people and managers throughout the company and everything. And they saw the value in her work and decided, hey, maybe you're ready for the next step in your career. Would you like to move into a more sales type position? And she gladly took the position because she thought that that was just a natural growth in her career progression. So I do think that type of environment and network type of situations are really fostered within our company. We do promote a lot of different events that we allow you to maybe reach out to teams that you don't necessarily always connect with, but are given the opportunity to learn about those teams as well.
Michael, we have a question in the chat that I think you will be able to address.
Sure.
Valeria says, I'd love to understand a bit more about how internal mobility is managed. Specifically, how do you detect or identify employees' skills? Is it based on self-assessments, manager input, system data, or something else? I love this question because a lot of these questions, like a lot of times people want to know, okay, well, like, how does that work though? Is
Sure.
this like, yeah.
Yeah, so great question. Thank you. There's a couple of factors that go into that. And I'll start with, I think, one important factor. I think in our employee handbook, it does say that you need to be in your current role for a year. It used to state 2 years. And I always say to folks when I'm hiring them, you want to plan on going into your first role for about, 2 years. And the reason being is I think we are a large, complex organization, and it takes a while. I don't care how much experience you have. It takes a while to really understand the business and get your footing. And we also have a formalized yearly review process where you're looking at your goals, your KPIs, the goals of your team. You're sitting down with your manager and you're reviewing that twice a year. So we really like to have employees go through 2 cycles of that. So that's one aspect. I think another aspect is when you're looking at your My Journey, you can put your skills in there, that you currently have or maybe you've done in the past. So that's another aspect. Your information is out there. As Amber said, it's a lot of networking within the organization. But overall, if you're interested in something, you would apply to the internal job board. And then, we like to talk to every employee that's internal. We ask our managers to give that employee a opportunity to talk with them, even if their skills are completely different. But with that said, there are certain roles that there are required skills or required years of experience. So it might be a opportunity, what's the stretch goal? Can this person move into that? What have they done in other areas that maybe some of those skills could transfer? So it's a combination to the original question of who's managing that. It's the talent acquisition partner like myself. It might be the career and perform team. We always want to make sure that somebody's in good standing, with the company before they transfer. It's the manager being educated on what the skills of that employee is. And it's the employee. I always say a lot of it is employee driven. You're going after what you want. So you really need to sell yourself to the manager based on your current skills or again, those stretch goals or stretch skills. So I think it's a combination effort of everybody that's involved. Did
Yeah,
that
I very
answer the
much like
question?
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
And I mean, you raise a really good point, which we talk about a lot, is that nobody is going to care as much about your career as you do.
That's
And that
yourself.
is fine. And honestly, it's probably preferable. It'd be a little bit weird if people cared more than you do. But yeah, like if you have some place that you're trying to go, you need to tell people you're trying to get there. So otherwise they can't help you. But that'll also help you to try and identify where you're going to start with. So I like that. Yeah. Let's see. We had a lot of people that had questions about making a career change, especially pivoting mid-career or after a large employment gap. So I'm really curious to see if anybody could speak to what they're seeing when it comes to people that are coming from a large employment gap. How can they present themselves to employers to kind of either not necessarily minimize, but like either clarify, whatever, What do you like to see from applicants that have a gap in their history?
So I think first and foremost, we want to see what you have been doing in your gap, right? To be honest and transparent, absolutely. Are there different networking events that you have maybe participated in? Have you been doing anything with Power to Fly, right? For instance, um, uh, being transparent and open and honest is what we want to see and demonstrate in the process that we have here at Dassault. And it's really important to identify and align your skills with the role that you are seeking. What kind of kept you motivated, right? How can you align that in your next move? It is really important to dig deep there and think about those transferable skills that you can apply and make an impact in your next move. So we often see it on the recruitment side. Sure, it could raise a flag perhaps to some managers, but really it's more of that about that understanding of what was the situation and again, thinking about what you want to do in your next career move is really where we want to see that alignment.
Yeah, okay. I love that response. All right. Let's see here. Okay, a lot of people want advice on how to make their resume or their job application stand out. Let's see, Amber, could you answer this first from kind of like more of an early careers perspective about what you're seeing or what would make someone stand out, and then we can maybe go to somebody that's a little bit further up the career ladder and what the differences might be.
Yeah, of course. So, I tend to see a lot of times with early career applicants that they're mass applying to these positions without really fully reading the job description as much. So, I would definitely recommend tailoring jobs like your resumes and everything to what the job description is looking for. A lot of time with the generalized resume, it does showcase some of your skills, but when you really highlight and showcase the specific skills the managers are looking for, it definitely catches the recruiter's attention and definitely makes it so we can actually see you see projects or professional work experience be like with applied skill sets. So a lot of times that with early career candidates, they might not have as much professional experience, but you can always put your personal projects, school projects, stuff like that into it. A lot of times managers don't want to just see what software or programs or things that you use. They want to see that in application. So if you don't really have anything like that, it would be great to maybe do a personal project that also shows initiative and that you're willing to go above and beyond to be able to showcase your type of skills and work. A lot of times I do talk, I go to a lot of university career fairs, and that's where they struggle a lot with. Volume doesn't always mean quality. So definitely take a look and slow down a little bit with your application process just to see how you can how you can really sell yourself to that company.
Yeah, I like that. And I love the personal project idea. I remember couple of jobs ago when my husband was applying, he submitted project applications or like project ideas because he hadn't been hired to do it professionally. And so he showed them the plans that he drew up for our garden at home because I wanted to have a vegetable garden. I had to take into account like this much light and blah, blah. And he like worked out the drainage and all kinds of stuff for me. And that was what he used to show off, like, hey, these are some of my design skills.
Mhm.
So I can tell you for a fact, these are things that real people do. Um, but I absolutely love that because then you can take something that either you've already done for your own amusement or use it to expand on your skill set in an area that really interests you. I very much like that.
Meg, to reinforce what you just said and what Amber said, I had a former intern who recently got rehired with the company, and excuse me, she had been gone from us for a year and did not have full-time employment somewhere else, but she was doing volunteer project work. And so as she came in to re-interview, the manager that she interned with knew her, but somebody else did not. And it was a great way for her to sell herself and her skills, even though, again, it wasn't a full-time specific job. It was project work that related to that job that she wanted. And ultimately, she did get the job.
Yeah, that's important. Can we say that louder for the people in the back? You don't, it's still experience if you didn't get paid. Okay. That's still experience. I know that's wild coming from capitalism central here, but it's still experience if you didn't get paid. So absolutely second and third that. I love that. Let's see here. Okay, we did have a couple questions from people. Michael, I want to go to you first on this one because I know you're my fellow neurodivergent buddy. Um, a lot of people had questions about if they are neurodivergent and are at all seeking, if not accommodation, then at least awareness. Do you have any advice for anybody who is neurodivergent and navigating the job market right now?
Great question. So, and I will say that I'm not an expert in this. I am still learning, but with all that we do for inclusion and belonging, I think that we're learning more and more about different groups, maybe differently abled people that we might have not been focusing on before. So one of the things that we have done with our inclusion and belonging series is we've had speakers come in. And through our employee assistance program, we had somebody come in and do a training on neurodiversity, which was great. So I think the first thing is awareness and education. In terms of, what you can do differently in applying, we talked earlier about being transparent. People should be able, my big thing is everybody should be able to be their true selves at work. Now, that doesn't mean you might want to wear a sign on your shirt, but maybe it's a conversation with your manager like, hey, this is something that I deal with or I struggle with, and I prefer to sit in a more quiet location than being in a very, highly visible or traffic location. Um, One of the other things that we are doing and we are learning is I'm reading a lot online about some of the companies that are really advanced in what they do for people with neurodiversity. So I know I was reading some things about Microsoft and Ernst and Young. So I think, kind of maybe read about and learn what some of the trendsetters are doing, and then you can develop plans based on that. I also know in terms of there are some specific job boards, and with one of our groups that we partner with, we work with a company called Circa. So all of our jobs beyond going to Power to Fly go to different diversity job boards, and I believe one of them is Ability. .com. So I think being able to be your true selves, have those conversations where you need to, um, and know that it's something I think that we are learning and evolving on and trying to do more with all of our hiring across the board.
Excellent. Absolutely love that response. And you're right. None of us are experts, even those of us within the bandwagon. So I very, very much appreciate that. All right, we've got a little less than 30 minutes left in today's session. I do see we've started getting some questions in the chat. We love to see those. I'm grabbing all of those. So we're going to try and get to as many of them as we can today, but just hold your horses and keep sending questions in if you have them, y'all. And we're taking down every single one we see. Let's see. Okay, do you have any tips to address perceptions of being overqualified? We hear this a lot from either more seasoned professionals, aka people who are over 22. And so I think this is something that a lot of people are worried about is like either appearing overqualified or kind of just not getting any response back when they apply for things. Um, do you have any tips for somebody if they're worried about appearing overqualified for a role they've applied to?
I mean, I could go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say that anyone is really overqualified. I think those are just extra skill sets that could make your work like stand out even more. I think there are definitely some times where people are can get frustrated about the non-response or anything that they can get from certain companies. However, I do feel like to mitigate that, it would be really helpful to maybe try to find a recruiter from that company and reach out to them to maybe have like a 5 minute or like 15-minute conversation to ask a little bit more about the position. Maybe that position on paper seems like it aligns, but on the back end, when you learn a little bit more, you realize that, oh, this is not actually something that I fit with, and maybe if there are other positions that will fit better for you. I would say that most of the time, like your skill sets will only benefit you in a certain way. So don't feel like you're doing too much or anything. Like I think if anything, it may just not be the right position for you. And if you do really enjoy that company and want to try to get your foot in the door and everything, I would definitely try to reach out and connect with someone from the company just to see what other opportunities there might be for you. And a lot of times, you might not get it the first time, you might not get it the second time, but I've definitely had candidates before that come in from multiple different positions who eventually do get hired into the company because they just kept trying. And eventually there was a manager that just felt like their skill set definitely aligned with what they needed. So don't get discouraged if you don't get position for the company that you want the first or second time. Sometimes it's just maybe not the right fit for you at that time.
Excellent. I love where you're going with this because that was a follow-up we had. People were curious. A lot of the reason we get this question, it comes from people who are experienced and they want an individual contributor role, but the recruiters tend to figure that they only want managerial, that they're kind of like on that management track. If someone is applying for a role and that is the situation, they are not they're interested in an IC. Is there a better way to express that to y'all other than just saying, "Hey, I want an individual contributor role"?
I'll jump in here and kind of one of the things I want to say. So I agreed with everything that Amber said, but I'm also going to kind of contradict that a little bit. One of the things I want to say is sometimes, if you do have a role where they are looking for 3 to 5 years experience and you have 25 years of experience, chances are, I'm going to be real, you're going to be overqualified for that job. And I'm just trying to be transparent. There are certain jobs where they are looking for a certain amount of experience. And it's also probably based on, the level of the role, where the compensation might be for that particular position. But to go back to what you were just saying, Meg, if somebody, let's say, has been, on management and they want an individual contributor role, what I think is great is, when you get that opportunity, hopefully have an opportunity to talk to the recruiter, or when you are applying, try to put a blurb as to why you are interested in the role. And something along the lines of, please know that even though I have management experience, this is what I'm looking to do now. Again, if you want to do a cover letter or you get that opportunity, to talk with the recruiter, be transparent and talk about why, you want it. Years ago, earlier in my career, at this point, it's probably about 20 years ago, I managed a team of 7. I don't think I ever want to manage again. And I did deal with that at a time. Somebody was like, well, why do you want to do this? And I kind of had to really sell myself as to why I wanted this particular job at the time. And I didn't get it, but then I got another one, thereafter along the same lines. So as Amber said before, sometimes you keep trying, but I think there are ways to have conversations around why you want to pivot. And again, I think it's showing what you have in the skills to want, for that pivot or that choice that you now want to make.
Yeah, okay. Along these same lines, we did get people that were asking if let's say that you applied to a role, you interview, but you're not accepted for the role, but you do love the company and you find a different position that you want to apply to. How should people go about doing that? Sometimes companies want you to wait a certain amount of time. So what are the rules at Dassault? Let's say I came in, I interviewed for the lion tamer role, and y'all were like, this is great, but we're gonna go with somebody who's actually been in a room with a lion. And I was like, that's cool, I understand. But then I'm like, no, I want to be with the clown crew and hang out with them. How do I apply for that? How do I, do I need to like let y'all know, hey, I applied for this other thing and it didn't work out?
Yeah, I would say absolutely rely on those connections that you've already built in the first process, whether it's directly with the recruiter or maybe you are still in touch with the manager or extended team members, and throw it out there. Say, hey, I found this other role. What do you think? I mean, should I apply? We do want to see that that candidates are willing to leverage that network that they've already established organically through that first interview process and really learn more about that. So we here at Dassault don't have set parameters on when you can jump right back in, and we want to continue the conversation. We really do see the time with candidates as an investment, and really trying to ensure that we find the right opportunity for them, not just for today, but for the long term.
Yeah. Okay. I love this. All right, I want to jump up and talk about internship and some early career strategies. So Amber, obviously we're going to be going to you for these. A lot of people wanted to know how to upskill during an internship. I know when I was doing internships, I was fairly lost and mostly just hoping not to make a giant mistake every day. But let's say you're a little bit more confident than I was, hopefully, and you're looking to kind of like upskill and want to be able to like use that experience to show off in hiring settings. How do you recommend people take advantage of this?
So if you're already in the internship at the company, I would definitely recommend that you definitely get involved with all and every activities that are possible. Networking is a huge, huge tool, especially within our company as well. And I'm sure at other companies too. Specifically at Dassault, we do events such as intern showcases and whatnot, in order to basically allow interns to showcase the work that they've done. It's essentially an open house type of format where managers are invited and they can go from table to table to kind of see what the interns have been working on, what teams they've been working on. And a lot of times, like related teams or the teams that they've been working on do get really interested in the work that they do because, especially as an early career individual, you do have a lot of transferable skills. Nothing is really set yet. So I would definitely recommend just getting involved with like the activities and events at the company. And if there isn't something like this, you should definitely just maybe try to like put together a presentation or something to send over to your manager or some related teams that you've been working on. Because a lot of times when you're working, you don't really always showcase like bullet point wise what you've been working on, and it might not seem as significant, but when you really add everything together, it's actually a lot of work and contribution. So I definitely recommend doing that, as well as just sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable, but definitely stepping out of your comfort zone and talking to people or like reaching out to ask like, oh, I'm kind of interested in this. What manager should I reach out to? At Dassault Systems, we do also do like a summer intern meetup program where we invite speakers and from various different industries and teams to speak to our interns to talk a little bit about their career progression and stuff. So if you're ever interested, I'm sure reaching out to your manager or someone within the recruiting team can help you connect with other people, if not from your team, any related teams or beyond.
That's wonderful. I think that's really an excellent plan. And you're right. I mean, it really does kind of show that you are interested in the org. And if something like this doesn't exist, say that maybe it should. You know what I mean? Like speak up and start like, hey, is there a reason we don't have something like this? It'd be kind of cool if we did XYZ. Because hey, it might be an excellent leadership opportunity. You could spearhead that effort. So I think that's really, really cool. I love this. Thanks, Amber.
Mhm.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about interviewing, especially candidate presentation. This is a really big thing for a lot of people. One of the things that I think is really interesting is right now we have the most amount of generations coexisting in the workforce as we've ever had. We currently have four main ones. So I want to talk about intergenerational expectations, especially when it comes to interviewing. Now, Amber, no offense, you might not be the best one to go to on this. So we're going to start with Michael and then we'll keep working our way down, just from perspective to start with. But are there anything that you've seen? Has there been anything that you've seen lately in an interview sense that feels like there have been generational shifts that maybe some of the rest of us need to be aware of when it comes to interacting with some of the younger members of our working world?
Yeah, it's funny, because again, like I've said, I've been in business for a long time. One of the things that came up with one of my managers was that the candidate wasn't fully dressed, meaning in a suit, right? Not everybody wears a suit today. So there is a little bit of the education process. Now, it's hard because a personal feeling is, I was always taught shirt, tie, full suit, but that really is not what everybody is doing anymore. So I really try to educate managers on, the fact that the fact that we have different generations, the fact that a lot of people went from a remote world to now coming into the real world, as I like to call it, or the office world for the first time. So that's one of the things that I've seen that's been a little bit different in terms of generations. I think, again, the other thing, and I'm going to say, not to sound too repetitive, but with one of the inclusion series that we've done, we did a whole series or a whole session on generations. And it was really, really interesting for me because though I think I'm so open, I learned a lot about sometimes the things that I might do or say that could potentially bother somebody that might be in more earlier career. And I've also learned a lot from, the earlier career folks. So like I'm very close to Amber and Meg, Abby, and really different generation from where I am. And yet when we get on the phone, I feel like we're in the same world, we're in the same generation because we've learned so much from each other. And I think that's a true thing that I've seen at Dassault that I think is great is the fact that those generations are learning from each other. And there's a lot for both sides to learn.
Yes, the generational blending I think is one of my favorites. And I don't know about you, but I feel like your first workplace bestie almost has to be at least 10 years older than you. It's just kind of how it works. And so I think that that is absolutely wonderful. And I like to hear that kind of stuff because you're right. I mean, like the suit thing, because on the one side, right, on the managerial side of it, they're coming at it from a respect issue, which is completely understandable, right? It's like if I were to show up topless to an interview, someone would be like, you're not seriously here for this, right? But on the other side of it, we all understand it's not that deep. Some people just don't have a full suit. We're still here, ready to go, ready to interview. It's not an immediate, like, disrespectful thing
Right.
to open a conversation. So I think you're right. It comes from genuine curiosity and learning more about other people as a response instead of the immediate judgment. I think that's
Absolutely.
excellent. Yeah.
And rely on the
And
recruiting team to
yeah, please
understand
go
what
for it.
those manager expectations are. Sorry, I just jumped
Yeah,
right
no.
in. But I think that each manager has a different style, expects something a little bit different, and the recruiter knows that manager pretty well. So ask the recruiter, like, what should I expect? What should I plan, prepare? And I think that's really good because then you can kind of lean in a little bit into what that manager expects and have a little more intel as you go through the process.
I love that.
Mhm.
That's great.
And to Kristen's point, I didn't want to forget, we have a lot of folks that are interviewing for the first time in our process, Zoom. So I will say to folks, whereas again, prior, it probably would have been in person. I always say to folks, treat this as if it's an interview, that you're going in for face to face. And sometimes if somebody asks, they'll say, should I dress up? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. That would be a great thing to do. So when somebody does ask, I'll give them, my perspective of what I think they should do. And if somebody says, hey, do I need to be in a full suit? I'll say, no, you might want to have a collared shirt and a tie. Um, it really depends on the individual.
Yeah, I like this. Rob is also chiming into the chat saying RuPaul says everyone should own at least one good suit. I absolutely agree with this, but also like completely understandable that like I don't even know. In the late 1900s, it was a little bit more affordable to get, your separates at Express, whereas maybe that's not a thing we can do anymore. So, no, I like this. I love this conversation. Okay, we got a couple more things I want to cover before we run out of time today because we've only got about 10 minutes left. Um, I want to talk about the strategic outlook for the next 5 years. Now, obviously, nobody has a crystal ball and we can't predict the future, but I want to know where y'all see 3DS going. in the next 5 years? What should people know? What should they be excited about?
Well, to start, our leadership team is made up of visionaries. They're always thinking about the future. A couple of years ago, we started to talk about what 2040 looks like. So we're beyond the 5-year mark there. But it's really captivating to hear about how we want to continue progressing as an organization. How do we deliver products that are creating experiences not just for our own customers, but their customers, right? We're keeping sustainability in the forefront of our minds in every decision we make. Mind you, very diligent decisions. So it's really led our organization to be very stable over the past several years. And we want to continue with the generative experiences that we can deliver. So really tying in our virtual twin applications with AI, which is, of course, the hot button topic nowadays. But we do see AI, our virtual companions, if you will, really driving that value with the end user. So we've already adopted AI in our applications, and we'll continue to make those investments in the next 5 years and beyond.
Excellent. We love to hear that. All right. Now, in the remaining time, I do want to go back and look at a couple of the questions that people had sent in because we got some really good ones. Da, 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 da. Okay, this person, Anya, had asked, for those seeking to transition into another industry, how much weight does industry experience carry with hiring managers? What are some ways we can present ourselves if we have little to no industry experience?
I think it depends on the role, quite honestly. Some roles are very industry specific, and some roles are not. And you might have a great foundation, although it's not specific in that industry, but certainly when you consider those transferable skills, I would look into, what are those expectations based on the job description and researching more about the organization and kind of how you can tie those elements back in. For some roles, again, it might be a road to get there, but it's also, there is also that ability to look at positions that are less weighted on industry, and certainly expressing your curiosity is something that will really stand out in your application.
Yeah, okay. I like this one. All right. Amber, this one's going to you. Harshit had asked, when would be the right time to start applying to full-time roles before graduation? I know most companies prefer immediate joiners in the US. So yeah, if you're not yet graduated, but about to, when should you be applying to roles? At least
Yeah.
according to a 3DS, when should you be
Yeah.
applying to roles?
So it really varies, honestly. It's really dependent on the manager and team and what they're actually looking for. But I will say that, especially if you've already interned at the company and stuff, they do really value that experience that you already have. We've had interns that kind of get full-time positions, basically right now, who are graduating in next year of May 2026. So I would say that you could look out for a couple months, from before graduation and everything. I wouldn't recommend over a year because that is a really long wait period for the managers and teams. But just to be upfront with the recruiter that you're speaking to as well, letting them know that, hey, like I might not be graduating right now, but these are the contributions that I would love to make for the team and everything. And just managing expectations on that end. There are going to be times where, yes, the manager and team would need someone to join immediately. But a lot of times, if they find the right candidate, sometimes managers are willing to push their expectations and change expectations to cater to those candidates. So I would really just be upfront about what you're interested in, what you can provide for the company. And a lot of times managers will, they do have some sort of flexibility. Some managers might not, and that might not be the best position at that time, but other positions will open up. Yeah, that's mainly what I have to say for that question. Yeah.
Excellent response, Amber. Thank you. All right. Saul had also asked a question. When looking to connect with people from the company, what's the best way to approach a talent acquisition team member? Or is it better to reach out to the people of the department that you want to work in directly?
I'll
All of
I'll
the
take.
above.
All right, Kristen, you're up first. Then we'll go to Michael.
Well, if you have a LinkedIn account, it's pretty easy to research who that what that potential management line looks like, and making connections with them, and expressing your interest through perhaps a message on LinkedIn or another professional network, if you have connections there. And in LinkedIn posting, you can actually see, the recruiter is able to tag their profiles, so you can kind of have a direct connection right to them. But yes, all the above, because you don't know who's going to see that message first, who might have further insight into the role. It might not be the right fit, but there might be something else around the corner. And we often see candidates reaching out to talent acquisition as well as the manager in parallel, so they can really cast that wider net.
Excellent. Love to hear it. All right. To follow up, Kristen, on something you had said earlier, you had talked about, if you had questions or you were worried about going into the interview or unsure, to ask ask the recruiter, like, what should I do to prepare? What should I know going in? Isaac had asked a really good question in the chat. How do you deal with qualified candidates who lack confidence during their interview? Is there any way to make them feel comfortable? I think there's a lot of us who are either introverted or just not great at pumping ourselves up, especially to total strangers. I'm not one of them, don't worry, but there are a lot of them. So don't you chuckle so loud, Michael. But I want to know, if you have somebody that comes across your desk who is just not singing their own praises or tooting their own horn, how do you handle these kinds of candidates?
Yeah. And who's comfortable talking about themselves? I mean, granted, there are people out there for sure, but but yeah, I mean, it's very common that candidates, do need to hone in on the impact that they've made, what they're passionate about, being their own cheerleader at the end of the day. It's tough to get there mentally, and I would recommend, relying on your friends, right? Pitch it to them, have them, interview you, right? I think the way, like Amber said earlier, get out of your comfort zone. And I think with friends, it's a little more pleasant, right? And hopefully they give you some good critiques and valuable feedback. But just kind of preparing as best you can, and maybe relying on some tools, AI is great nowadays for kind of, starting that elevator pitch that you want to develop. So if you need something that kind of complements what you're trying to do, certainly, leverage technology for that.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that interviewing is a skill. So it's definitely something that you can build on and improve. I think from the get-go, no one is great at talking about themselves until they really build up the practice to do so. And like what Kristen said, there's a lot of resources out there for you now. So definitely look at some of the behavioral questions that you can find online. Some of the questions, like, prepare yourself for the interview and everything. And once you practice a little bit and maybe have an outline of what you'd like to say, it could help you a little bit it can help you feel a little bit more confident during the interview process, and a lot less like you're just kind of going, improvising or anything. So definitely practice, practice, practice.
And confidence comes in all forms, right? It's not just
Mhm.
about how many words you say, but it's about how you come across and how secure you feel in your responses. And if you're, at the end of the day, being truthful and really, being curious when you're speaking with those recruiters and respective managers, I think that's really gonna come across as confident.
I love it. All right. Well, I want to say a massive thank you to the Dassault Systems team, Amber, Kristen, and Michael, as well as all of the fabulous unsung heroes behind the stage or behind the scenes. There is a lot of work that goes in on these events in the background. So we very much appreciate all of y'all who put in so much hard work so that way we all get to sit up here and look so cool. But thank you massively to each of you for taking time out of your day, sharing your respective experiences with us. We very much appreciate it. I've really enjoyed getting to spend the last hour with each of you. So thank you, Amber, Kristen, and Michael.
Likewise.
Also,
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. Thank
I also
you.
want to say a big thank you to our audience members. Obviously, you have a ton of options when it comes to events like this. So we are incredibly grateful that you chose to spend time with PowerToFly and Dassault Systems. Now, like I said earlier, if anything that we have said today about Dassault Systems piques your interest, very much recommend you check out their company page. This is what you're going to see when you go to powertofly.com. If you do not see the big pink button that says follow, it's because you're not logged into the website. But as long as you're logged in, you'll see that follow button. What it's going to do for you, it does some great things, but if you smash that follow button, it's going to help PowerToFly because we're going to tell Dassault Systems that you are interested in working with them even before you fill out an application. So this is an excellent option if you are actively job seeking, but don't see a role right now that's like, oh, that one's perfect. I have to apply to that. All right. So smashing that follow button is great for that. The other thing it does is it allows us to keep Dassault Systems on your radar because we will tell you when they post new roles or if they have new events like this. So that way, kind of work smarter, not harder. Let PowerToFly take some of the weight off of you in your job search. The other thing you can use that follow button for is that way later, if you are actively job seeking later, you can always come back to PowerToFly and already have a short list of companies that you know really walk the walk and talk the talk when it comes to DEIB issues. So I very much encourage you to check out their company page. This is also a great resource of information if you think you might be going into an interview with Dassault Systems. There's some great content there that you can go check out. We give you a lot of interesting things to ask questions about or talk about in an interview. All right, now, last but not least, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who joined us today. Whether you stayed for 2 minutes or the full shebang, we are so incredibly grateful that you chose to spend time with PowerToFly and Dassault Systems. Now, you just took 60 minutes out of your day to do something positive for yourself and your career, okay? That is not easy. It is very thankless in this day and age. So whether you are a little treat person or not, listen to Meg, okay? Give yourself the gold star, pat on the back, cookie, coffee drink, maybe not Starbucks is all I'm saying. But regardless, I hope that y'all go out, have the day you voted for, okay? Do something nice for yourself, do something nice for somebody else, maybe a stranger, these are all just ideas. Take what you will. But regardless, whether this was your first PowerToFly event or your 50th, I sincerely hope it will not be the last. I very much look forward to seeing y'all joining us back here soon and cannot wait to see what the rest of the week has. Bye!